Okay, so what you're going to need to do is find a piece of glass and mark off 12 inches and a 1-inch border on either side of your glass. That's going to be what you're going to use to measure your horsehair against. To make these rollers, you kind of want to make sure that they're roughly about the same length. That seemed to work for me. What I'm using here is actually green painter's tape. So I just found that the painter's tape worked really well to keep the horsehair in place for the next step. And what I'm using to cut the horsehair to size is a hot knife. The reason I'm using a hot knife and not just a regular pair of scissors is this is horsehair that's intended to be used to stabilize hems, and when you cut into it, it frays. So since it's plastic, there's not a whole lot you can do to prevent it from fraying, but what you can do is you can melt the tips of the horsehair together. So I'm using a hot knife to do this. Once I've got everything sort of like measured up and taped down, if you don't have a hot knife, you can use a basic soldering iron to do that as well. It's going to take a little bit longer, but it's just as effective. You can usually find a super, super basic soldering iron at a dollar store for $1. But if you do happen to have a hot knife lying around, definitely feel free to use that. So what I'm using here is I'm using an aluminum ruler to help me cut a straight line across the horsehair. You want to use an aluminum ruler and not a steel or wood ruler. The wood is going to burn. Stainless steel will conduct heat, so aluminum, which is a metal that does not conduct heat, is really what you want to use for this step. And what I'm actually doing here is I had to just sort of like move because you're melting the edges of the horsehair so it doesn't fray. I had to sort of like move them around a little bit so that the edges wouldn't like melt together. Okay, so now that I've got my horsehair that is cut to 14 inches long, remember that's 12 inches plus 2 extra inches on the top and bottom as a border. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put away my hot knife and I'm going to grab my serger. The serger that I'm using, it's called a single needle overlocker. Oh yeah, definitely don't forget to clean your workspace because that shit is important. I am fastidiously clean when it comes to my workspace. Anyway, grab your serger. You want to use a single needle serger or overlocker. And then I'm actually using a nylon polyester thread and a thread called woolly nylon. It's a type of thread that's designed to stretch. You usually use it on knit material. And it's actually really easy to do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 pieces of horsehair and you're going to fold the edges toward the outside. So you want to be able to feel the kind of bristly edges that you fold over, like on the outside of your little nylon roller. And then you just serge it. That's all you do. So fold over the 2 edges toward the outside, and then just serge the 2 sides. So that's what I'm doing here. I am just folding it as I sew. I wouldn't recommend folding it and then trying to pin it into place. Horsehair is very loose, and if you try to pin your folds into place, like I assure you, it will not work. Feel free to try it. It doesn't work. So just fold it as you sew. And yeah, so I'm just gonna serge both sides of my horsehair rollers. Do all of them out all at the same time. It just tends to work better. And what you want to do at this point is you want to go over to your stove and you want to put your stove at a fairly warm temperature. So the temperature that I have my stove at is, let's see, 210 degrees. What that is in Celsius, feel free to use Google to calculate that. I am recording and posting this video from America, where we have not figured out that the metric system is vastly superior. I really hope your nation has gotten on board with that, because it seems like an awesome thing to do. Cool. And now your next step is what you want to do is you want to roll up your newly sewn rollers and then pin them using a plastic-free straight pin. So you just sort of roll them up. What I'm doing is I'm putting them on a wooden dowel inside of an aluminum pan. And you want to make sure that it stays away from the metal. You don't want things to melt. I'm using an infrared thermometer to make sure that my stove does in fact hit about 210 degrees. Don't make it any hotter. Making your stove hotter is not going to make this process go by faster. Make sure that your stove preheats for about 5 minutes. So I turned on my little owl timer to about 5 minutes. What you want to do is you want to have your stove at a temperature where it's going to soften the plastic that the horsehair is made of, but you don't want it to melt. So 210 degrees is great. If it's maybe even a few degrees cooler than that, that is completely fine. Just roll with that. If it goes over about 250 degrees, that is not where you want to be. You're probably going to melt your plastic. So my stove has a setting called warm, and it ends up being like 213 degrees. So that's fine. 213 degrees is fine. Shoot for 210. Stick your horsehair rollers in the oven for about, like, I think I set my timer to 10 minutes. Timer is set to 10 minutes. And yeah, like that seemed to work out well for me. Let's just observe my weird owl timer. What I love about the owl timer is that, like, when it goes off, he does a little dance. And I think that's awesome. Use a timer that you enjoy. I have a gas oven. I don't know if it makes a difference. As long as the inside of your oven is 210 degrees, that's fine. Just stick it in there, 10 minutes, wait. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and post a link in the description below to my Etsy shop. One of the reasons this project was so immediately awesome for me is I ended up with like just a shit ton of this 1-inch wide horsehair. And if you want to go ahead and try this at home, feel free to take it off my hands, because it is literally sitting on my shelf doing absolutely nothing, and I would rather sell it to you than have it sit there. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, also, the Curlformers has this little hook. What that hook really is, and I am a nerd, so of course I would know this shit. It is they call it a fish stick. It's actually this little plastic stick you get in an Ethernet cable box that you use to kind of, you feed it up your walls and you pull out like blue Ethernet cables when you're like wiring like Ethernet through your walls. That's what's in the Curlformer package. I happen to have several fish sticks, so I went ahead and I used that to grab my hair and pull it through the horsehair rollers. The method of pulling your hair through is exactly the way that it shows on the Curlformers video, but instead of spending $80, just hit up like Fry's Electronics. Cool. Now I've got my super awesome like curl roller things, and what I'm doing here is I'm unrolling them. This is super important. I just want to make sure everything is like hunky-dory, nothing is stuck together, it's all good. And yeah. So here I am taking them out. It works like a fucking charm. I have an afro normally, so I wasn't really looking to get a super polished look from this. I just wanted to see if it worked on my hair, which it totally fucking did. And also, the other thing is, like, I just wanted to just sort of straighten my hair enough.
Awesome. Let's see that.
Okay, so that was weird, but anyway, let's continue.
Hey, so I am actually pretty excited about the DIY Horsehair Curlformer. I have an afro and I really don't like putting stuff in my hair, whether it's product or rollers or anything like that. But I'm pretty happy with the results. So there's a few that are still back here just because my hair is pretty thick and dense, and it always takes forever for it to dry. So that portion is still damping. It's drying slowly, so I'll be patient. But here, I've just been kind of blow drying this side of the hair. And I am like pleasantly surprised. I think the DIY Curlformers did a better than reasonable job at getting my incredibly curly hair into a ready to flat iron position, if that makes sense. Again, like, I'm very much down with my afro, so what you're seeing is like one of maybe the 2 times this year that I've straightened my hair at all, like to any extent. And I think it did a really good job. I'm excited. It's so weird. It's like my hair is so long. Holy shit, it's so long. Look at how long that is. That's nuts. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, I knew my hair was pretty long, because every now and then I'd like grab a strand from the fro and then I'd pull it out and I'd be like, oh, that's like really long. But this is actually really, really long. And I feel like I'll be making this motion for the duration of the next week. It just feels different. I'm gonna run over to the beauty supply store and get additional products to really glam this up. But it feels really healthy. Because my hair is pretty healthy. You know, if you don't use a lot of heat or like products on it, your hair should be healthy. Having said that, because my hair is incredibly healthy, it has dawned on me that I need to probably go and grab some hairspray and a few other things to make it hold whatever curled position I would like it to be in. And I lack all of those products. I'm probably gonna go get like a hairspray and like one of those like flat iron like silicone things. But yeah, oh, and then this is the part that was on the Curlformer that I just sort of brushed out and blow dried just a little bit. And again, I'm pretty happy with, wait, let me put it that way, with how it sort of came out. So I still have a few Curlformers back here to pull out. But as a first step in the afro straightening process, I'm actually really impressed with how the DIY Curlformers came out. Although I do look a little bit insane right now, it's okay. can get over that. Um, yeah, so I think I'm gonna hang on to these. I'd encourage you to do these. I also bought like a little mini pack of actual Curlformers. And I think I'll put some of those in. I don't really think the actual branded Curlformers are gonna do as well as these guys, because the horsehair that I'm using to make these is very hard, and it's a bit rigid, which is great because it'll actually hold the hair sandwich, between the two pieces of horsehair really well. Whereas the pack of Curlformers that I have, they're using like this very soft horsehair. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It just feels like it won't stand up to the strength of my curls. So yeah, I'm excited. Go make some DIY Curlformers, guys. It's good. It's a good time. Yeah, I actually want to try this with like the smaller horsehair, because I use like 1-inch wide horsehair, which is totally fine. But I want to see if I can use smaller horsehair to do like smaller little baby curls. But that's just me getting weird for a second.